Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I'm Courtney Anderson, and this is our show, episode number 214. 214 episodes of this show, of the audio version of this show that we have done. That is amazing. Wow! Time flies when you're having fun. What are we talking about in episode 214? Well, we have a show that's part of the Satisfaction Saturation series. And our Satisfaction Saturation series, of course, is our series that is dedicated to and focused on our community members who have surpassed their goals. That's one of the fundamental principles of all of our programs, surpassing our goals. So we talk a lot about how to get to that point, right? How to even from the very beginning, how to set a goal, how to strategize, how to execute a plan. What do you do after? Right? What do you do after you surpass the goal? Then what? And that's what this series is all about. So, Satisfaction Saturation series. Today our show topic is I am tired of hearing must be nice from people. I am tired of hearing must be nice from people. So that's our topic. And again, this is one of those shows uniquely relevant to our Satisfaction Saturation community members. And it's something you don't really think about when you're putting all that heavy lifting and work into creating a goal and setting the goal and strategizing a plan and executing the steps and and experiencing success and experiencing failure and staying motivated and focusing on being tenacious and all of that work and exertion. You don't ever stop to think, well, what will happen after I accomplish this, right? What will happen after I graduate from my university program? What will happen after I achieve the income of my dreams? What will happen after I meet my financial independence goals? What will happen after? And if you have really specific goals, what will happen after I have an award-winning career? What will happen after? And so this show comes from you, community members, of course, and it also is something that's reflected in my own life. I certainly have time that I spend with friends or family and people in my community of caring, and I always mention our community of caring as anyone who meets the test that my happiness is their happiness, and vice versa. So their happiness is my happiness. So if someone who I'm in their community of caring, something happens and they're unhappy, then I'm unhappy. And it could be, again, relative, it could be friend, it could be coworker, it could be boss, it could be team member, employee, it could be neighbor, it could be dog walker or friend that I have at the gym. It could be my dentist. It literally can be anybody. So one of the reasons I think that this topic, like I said, comes up from you, community members, but also from people just in my day-to-day life that I'm spending my time with, is because it seems so shocking. It seems sort of like all the work that goes into getting to the point where you surpass your goals, that you would think selfishly, from your own perspective, you would think, well, don't people realize that? Let's say, for example, that someone says, "Oh, must be nice, must be nice to live in a home like that." Okay, all right. Now we know, because we have so many different programs and resources, and many of you that are community members have met me over the last 15 to 20 years, whether whether we met as I was your professor or your lawyer, or I was giving a keynote speech or doing corporate education training programs. You read a book that I've co-written, whatever, that we spend so much time in how to do that. How do you get to the point where you're able to have the home? I hate the phrase. It's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's helpful here. Your dream home. How do you get that? Well, that's what we've been working on. So we have programs, and if you haven't visited or revisited our programs lately, where we talk about your credit score, and we talk about credit, and we talk about all different types of aspects for planning. I did a program in our Courtney, I'm Curious series, which is exactly what it sounds like. People say, hey, I'm curious. And they asked me specific issues regarding to my individual life journey. And I did a show about buying my first home, right, in my 20s. How do you do that? And what was that experience like? So there's a lot of hard work that goes into the point where someone can turn around and say to another person, must be nice. And as I said, for the person who's on the receiving end of it, it can feel shocking, because how many steps, how many sacrifices, how much, risk was involved in getting to that point, that the person who hears these types of phrases, again, can perceive them as shocking, but also hurtful, as if it denigrates all of the hard work. It's not like the person sort of woke up and Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, dropped the dream home in their lap, right? They did things. And now I'm excluding, to some extent, although let's be fair, I was going to say I'm excluding people who maybe, won the lottery or, received a huge inheritance. But on the other hand, we've done programs about how few lottery winners and how few sort of windfall recipients actually achieve and sustain wealth, and it's a very small minority. So if somebody has, even if they did receive some just good luck, right? Not somebody passing away necessarily, but the inheritance would be good luck. Winning a lottery or something like that would be just random good luck. If that happened, then okay, that was just random good luck. But if they held on to it, that wealth, and used it as part of a foundation for a plan to build and sustain wealth, and that's something actually that we should respect, and definitely that wasn't just random luck. They took a lot of decisive and strategic actions to achieve that. So what my argument is, that this is one of those shows that if the person's not in that situation, they may think, well, who cares that somebody said must be nice to you? That's not really, quote, a problem. That's not something that needs a solution. The challenge, though, is that it does start to feel like a problem. And remember, we always are monitoring and being vigilant about our emotional, mental, and psychological state, because that's part of our other fundamental practice, where we're focusing on practicing the joyful art of business, where we're asking ourselves, how do I feel, right? And if I'm miserable, if I have sustained misery or pain or discomfort or unhappiness or frustration, those are all warning signs and alerts, letting us know that we need to start making assessments to begin to plan and strategize to make some changes, so we stop having that persistent negative outcome. And it's the same thing with something like this. The hard work that people put into surpassing our goals was intended to take us to a better outcome. And it does put a negative pall on something that should be good. I should be happy that I have a dream, that my dream home. And again, this is totally all relative. But I should feel happy about that. That's a good thing, right? Yet when you have a sustained exposure to people with the aside of must be nice to have that home, must be nice to live in that neighborhood, must be nice to have that car, must be nice to have your own business, must be nice to be able to go on vacation, must be nice, it does become annoying. Because part of the reason why people sacrifice is to be able to, enjoy that. Take that vacation and enjoy that nice restaurant. Have a good time out with their family and friends. That's why they did that. Enjoy time in their, whatever it is that people are making the somewhat nasty toned comment about. That's why people sacrifice for that. And when you think about people who put in just long years building a business, building a career, starting at the bottom entry level of an organization and literally just working their way up, rung by rung. You look at someone who put years into some sort of specific education, training, or credential. So if someone's a medical doctor, then they have, you add that up. How much time that took? Undergraduate in medical school, and residency, and like how much time did that take? And of course, along the way, you enjoyed the journey because none of us know how long we have. So ideally, that's why we're practicing the joyful art of business along the path. So that it's not that I'm in misery, I'm in pain, I'm in misery, and then I'm hoping for one day it'll be, rainbows and sunshines, it'll be great. No, if I'm ideally along the way, even though it might be very difficult or arduous, that there's something in there that I still enjoy along the way, because I personally, my perspective on life, I don't have a guarantee expiration date. So I don't know if I'm even going to make it through the degree program or make it to the point where my business becomes profitable. But there's something along that journey I need to be day to day getting, overall more positive than negative out of. But all that's to say, if I do have an opportunity to realize the surpassing my goal experience, then like I was referring to, people feel like that should be a good thing, that people should say, oh, that's great. Oh yeah, that was what a great new building you bought for your business. Or, oh yeah, tell me more about that trip you just took to Greece. What a fun vacation that sounds like. Or what beautiful pictures. It seems like that should be a good thing, right? The challenge, of course, though, is it's not necessarily received that way. We did a show where we talked about when something great happens to you and other people aren't happy for you, which is somewhat related to that feeling of this is a good thing, right? If you get a promotion, you win an award or an accolade, you're recognized for some thing that you've done as a volunteer or in your paid professional endeavors. These are good things. You were in a big national prestigious interview for a leading magazine. You appeared on a television show that has this is well known. I mean, those things should all be like good things. And the challenge, and why, of course, we have this satisfaction saturation series, is how do you handle it when something that you often had planned and sacrificed and strategized for and worked for, and you realize it come to fruition, and then you get must be nice to be able to leave and travel when you want to. Must be nice to be able to work from your home office. Must be nice to be able to leave and be with your kids whenever you need to. Must be nice to be able to have a time to spend with your husband. Must be nice. I mean, really? And again, that's the frustration. You're thinking, part of this is you think it is nice. That's why I did all of that, right? That's why I worked or sacrificed or planned or whatever it was. That's why I did it, so that I could enjoy this. And when we think about historically, globally, that idea that throughout human history that each generation wants more for their children, right? And when we look at global migration and the sacrifices people make for a better life, of course that's why they did it. And I know I have people that I've worked with and in my personal life where maybe their family, maybe their ancestors or grandparents or their great grandparents or their parents took huge risks to immigrate to different parts of the world for better opportunities, for education, for safety, economically. And then when that's realized, to have this sort of must be nice. Well, yes, that's why we did it. And when we look at this situation. I've been in different parts of the world and had conversations with people about this. So I've been in South Africa, or I've been in Australia, or I've been in Spain, or I've been in India, or I've been in Hong Kong, and I've had discussions with people, and they're different terms. But the idea that if you go out and do everything that our programs focus on, surpassing our goals, practicing joyful business, and you do those things, even though globally humans, it's laudatory, right? That's why somebody is in that profiled in that interview, or in that magazine, or they did win the award for their teaching, or police work. I mean, because it's ideally we do want people to do their best. The challenge, though, is that when people do their best, and then as a consequence, often have positive results. So if you save resources, you diversify your income, all the things we talk about in our financial fierceness series, and then you do reach opportunities where you are able to enjoy options, right? Money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys options. And we just recently did a program on that. Then you would think, okay, well, that's why I did it, and that should be a good thing. But what we can, and as I said, I've had discussions around the world about this, and the terms change. So some places people say, well, it's about crabs, and the little a crab, and they'll say the idea is that anybody that tries to crawl out and do better than the rest of the group, they're sort of pulled back down. In some parts of the world, people refer to it as the tall poppy syndrome, right? So anything that's taller than the average poppy, that sort of stands out, then other people come and sort of chop it down. And this whole idea of, although I've not been to any place or read anything or heard of a place where there's not the expectation and the pressure for excellence. Now that the excellence is going to be different based on what's important in that culture. So maybe it's agriculture, or maybe it's art, or whatever. But the idea that to be the best, to be great, to be revered, to be someone who surpassed their goals. Yet, at the same token, when you do that, then there is often, not always, but often, and again, the language is different depending on what type of cultural reference people make. But the idea is that succeeding puts you then at a risk of even additional insult, almost as if, how dare you? Must be nice. Must be nice to be able to go out to eat. I, I was going to give an example that I'd had a discussion one time. And it doesn't even matter. So I'm talking about things that we could sort of think as, wow, okay, that's impressive, right? Someone's quote dream home, or professional success, or volunteer of the year, or nurse of the top nurse of the quarter, or whatever. We're thinking, okay, that's kind of a big deal. But I've heard people do the must be nice on little things. Must be nice to be able to have something hot to eat. And I'm not talking about something where somebody's in a famine, or in a situation like that. I'm talking about somebody who's in a society where they are surrounded by opportunities to get something hot to eat, but just haven't made the choices and the sacrifices to do so. And so it becomes really petty. And it puts the person who's the recipient of the must be nice in a very tough position, because how do you respond to that? If you say to the person who says it, oh, well, it is nice. Well, okay. Then, wow, depending on that person's, personality, who knows what their potentially, violent result may be. Not that they're going to become violent with you, but they may become very animated. Well, that's what I'm sure you think it is nice. Okay. All right. So I don't recommend that. How do you respond? Whenever it's been something I personally have either observed or been involved in these types of interactions, I don't say, what can you say? You can't say anything. Now, some people will try to be self-deprecating, which is, in my personal assessment, is not helpful. So the person is talking about a great trip they just took, doing volunteer work in a part of the U.S. where people, are in a community where they don't have access to utilities, water and electricity. Okay, so, and yes, there are multiple examples of that around the world, countries around the world, including the U.S., right? So let's say somebody does that and they're talking about their experience where they were doing volunteer work and helping the local community and what they learned about themselves and what they learned from the experience. And then someone, must be nice. Must be nice to be able to take off and just do whatever you want whenever you want to. Must be nice to have time to go volunteer. Must be nice. Okay. If the person then says, oh, well, it really wasn't anything. I had planned ahead, and I had saved my vacation, and for years just so I could do this. Look, that's not helpful. Or in the alternative, if someone says it really wasn't, it wasn't really anything, it's not a big deal. That's also not helping. And especially when it's something where someone's saying, "Oh, must be nice to have a house like that," and then the person says, "Well, it's not really much. It's not really that nice. It really isn't." I mean, if you could see, there's some issues with the floor. I mean, it's really not that nice at all. That does not help. Trying to diminish, well, whatever it is, that's the proxy for the object, the proxy object for their disdain. You trying to say, well, maybe it's not that nice. That the car, the automobile, the motorcycle, whatever, it's older than it looks. It's had problems. It's not it's not anywhere near what you would think. None of this is helpful. None of this is helpful, and it's prolonging the situation and making it worse. So what's the core issue here? What's really going on? Well, I alluded to it. What's really going on is you have someone who's obviously not in your community of caring. Because remember, people in our community of caring, if our happiness is their happiness. So they're never, and I mean never, going to give us a condescending or accusatory, must be nice. They want us to be happy. When we're unhappy, they're unhappy. So that's an easy starting point for the assessment. So whoever this is that says this is not in our community of caring, which means then that this makes our lives much easier. Because we remember there are over 7 billion people on the planet, in our species. I can't just say on the planet because many people are not on the planet. Maybe they're International Space Station or something. So in the species. The issue is overwhelmingly the majority of them have no clue who we are, and we have no clue who they are. If you had 7 billion plus names memorized, even for the most talented, gifted savant, that's a lot. So that's not the issue. There's some sort of weird narcissistic, everyone should know who I am. Well, of course not. That would not even be possible. The other thing is, we understand that in our general lives, we have our community of caring, which is our closest sort of concentric circle to who we are. And then you have ripple wider circles out. People maybe that you see at the store, that it's near where you reside, people that you work on different activities with in your volunteer work, whatever. And fortunately, this allows us to calibrate emotionally, and in terms of our time, these relationships so that we can build true and lasting intimacy and have trust and really get all the beauty and the wonder of other humans in our lives, right? Companionship and love and affection and respect and all this good stuff. But because we understand that we don't owe that to every single human, it would again be unmanageable. It allows us then again to calibrate. So if someone passes by me when I'm out at the shopping center and looks meanly at me, well, that's okay. I don't know them. It may be personal. Maybe they really do, despise me. I don't know. But I don't need to get overly invested in this. I don't need to get upset. I don't need to cry. I don't need to yell. I don't need to confront them. Why are you looking at me like this? Okay, stop. None of that matters. It's just, it's a big species, relatively speaking, from our vantage point. I'm sure, I'm not saying from the measurement of all other species, because obviously there are many species who have multiples of our population. But what I'm saying is from our vantage point, which is of course very human specific, unfortunately, for many of us. The reality though is that we calibrate that. Okay, so that person doesn't like me, or doesn't like the way I look, or doesn't no, that's okay. That's life. That's the majority of life, right? So when you have someone who gives us this, must be nice, immediately we do our quick check and we confirm, is that someone in my community of caring? Maybe they used to be in my community of caring, but for whatever reason, something's changed and they don't want to be in my community of caring. I need to make an assessment. Once I realize they're not in that circle, then I need to recalibrate my investment in them. We did a show, several shows on the concept of I know, reciprocity, right? That I'm going to reciprocate. So if someone is not at all interested in my happiness, and in fact is doing things to bring unhappiness to me, then that's okay. But I'm not going to then turn around and treat them and make them my priority. We did a show on that, right? Never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. I love that. It's from a Maya Angelou quote. It's really imperative that we're constantly making these assessments so that we can calibrate our time and our resources. I don't know, again, I said earlier, I don't know my expiration date or anyone else's. I'm just trying to have a good day today, as good as it can be. And when these interactions happen, the thing about this show title that was really intriguing to me is this idea that you're tired of hearing this. The only reason you would keep hearing must be nice is because you keep exposing yourself to the same people. Now, why would we be doing that? And that's why I'm laying the foundation for it. They're not in our community of caring, so there's no need for us to keep exposing ourselves to them. If I know that if I talk to that person, I'm going to get a very negative and mean in some ways assessment of all the work I put into this. Must be nice. Must be nice to have your kid be, valedictorian, successful academic. Really? Well, yeah. Maybe the person worked hard with their kid, got them tutoring, and did everything they could so their child had a safe environment and could explore their academic talents. This is something to be nasty about? But I mean, I have literally experienced, observed these things in the most ridiculous, like I said, ridiculous settings. Well, yes, it's nice. It's not an indictment of the other person. And again, what this represents is that person who obviously is not invested in you, which is fine. They're not in your community of caring. But it also shows you they're not even invested in themselves. Because one of the things that we do talk about in many of our programs, and we share and strategize, how do you learn stuff? Well, you learn stuff from people who know stuff. So if I was not happy about something in my life and I really wanted to change it, right, then I would go to people and resources maybe that people created to teach me how to do that. Right? So like, for example, right now I'm spending a relatively reasonable amount of time getting back into my gardening and my plants. Because I'd moved and made some changes and hadn't really been spending as much time as I usually like to with my plants. That's not an area that I have a lot of expertise in. So what I'll do when I have an issue, just the other day I was looking at one of my plants and I was concerned about some of the leaves looked, and I went to go look at resources from people who work in this area and know a lot about that specific type of plant and the watering, the soil, what I would need to do potentially to make it better. I go to somebody who knows it. I don't go to someone else, right? Who might have a nice plant and say to them, must be nice that your plant leaves look so nice. What is that? Obviously, now I'm cutting off the opportunity to learn from them with this ridiculous insult. The question would be, how did you get your leaves to look like that? What may I learn from you? Is it possible that I could share knowledge with you and learn from you? That's the answer. So if someone sees something someone else has, like a plant with nice leaves, or their dream home, or they were, nurse of the quarter at the hospital, or they received, police officer of the year, or they had the top grade in class, or whatever it is. If that's something that you want, then the logical and healthy relationship to that is to ask the person, hi, I saw that you were employee of the quarter. Congratulations. I'd love that one day. Is there any way I could have lunch with you or chat with you for a little bit about some of the things that you do in your daily work schedule? That's what you do. So you can learn from them. If you want that, then why don't you, instead of being dismissive and snide, go out and do the opposite? Ask that person how they did it. In most instances, people will be delighted to talk to you about whatever it is. It's a good thing, right? Remember we said earlier that they worked for that. They're proud of it. Yay. So they'd be happy to talk to you about it. If it was a healthy, positive thing, not if you're going to insult them and be nasty. And of course, we sadly understand, and we've talked about envy in the workplace. We've done shows on this. We'll continue to, because these are the things that really unfortunately prevent people from surpassing their goals. When somebody else is in a situation where they're hurting themselves, and this example of this show topic is somebody hurting themselves. You're helping yourself if you go to somebody who has accomplished something or attained something that you would desire and ask for help. That's helping yourself. If you go to them and you're nasty and rude and try to diminish what they've done with insults, then you're hurting yourself, right? Because they do have knowledge. It could have helped you. But you're the one, because in your quest to think that you're hurting them, which you sometimes do. Like I said, it can be hurtful. But my point is, it hurts you, the person who, and not you, our community members, because we don't do things like this. But it hurts the person who says this more than it hurts the person who the recipient of it. Because the recipient of it is going to go back in their dream home or go on and be employee of the month. See? It didn't take it away from them. And again, it's something we need to be very empathetic towards. This is a sad thing. It hurts that person who's saying it way more than it hurts us, right? And the really destructive thing is they're closing off future opportunities to attain whatever it is and surpass their own goals with this continual behavior. So we need to be aware of that and feel empathetic for that. And also, it's an indicator when someone says and does this that they're not open to a better opportunity for themselves. We are. We do programs that talk about this all the time. I constantly ask people for help. There's so much I don't know. There's so much I don't even know that I don't know. I love learning things. And the only way I'm going to do that is ask people who have knowledge and expertise and success in that area. I don't know. We did a program. We talked about, the smartest thing you can ever say is, I don't know. That's because you don't pretend. You actually go out there and say to people, I don't know. And then you ask for help. Help could be knowledge or resources, additional opportunities to learn, whether it's a book or anything. But you got to understand where you're coming from. And people caught up in this sort of vicious cycle of envy and jealousy and hurting themselves, it's a very sad thing. So what can we do to address our specific topic? I already have laid it out. You're tired of hearing must be nice because you're talking to the wrong people. Once they do this, then it's a huge sign they're not in my community of caring. Maybe they used to be, but they're not right now. Maybe they'll be in the future, but they're not right now. And then you recalibrate down and reciprocate, right? So you're never going to, you're not, of course, it doesn't make, that's the problem with this, right? So the person who hears this thinks that's, it's weird and not logical, right? So we're not going to reciprocate because we don't even think of that. We don't think, well, I'm going to say back to them, must be nice. I don't even feel like that, right? If there's something I wanted, I'll go learn out how to do it. Seriously. So it doesn't even cross our mind. So that's not the issue. And again, we don't ever need to think about the pain they've caused us, because remember, they're in way more pain than the pain that they've tried to lash out and share with us, because we do have whatever the thing is that they're being very nasty about. Yeah, we should feel good about it. We do a lot of programs where we talk about that. It's imperative that we value ourselves and we celebrate. I don't care if it's just us by ourselves. Celebrate. Yay, us. That happened. Yay. I don't care if nobody else. I don't care if not a single other person. If you don't have anybody else in your community of caring right now but just you, that is more than enough. It really is. And you celebrate, and we're proud of what we do. We feel good about it. Yeah, it does feel good. It is nice. Great. So how do we address the challenge with tired of hearing this from people? That means those are the wrong people. So we need to cut back the opportunity for them to say it. It's much easier than you think. Not that they're going to say it. We just don't want to be there when they say it. So that's the part we're cutting out. Our physical presence. I'm hearing them speak. So we're going to limit it as much as we can. So if they are someone, maybe there's someone who's related to someone in your community of caring. You think, oh, every time I go over to visit those people, there's that person with that mean thing. Well, okay, do you have to go? You don't have to go every time. If you go, do you have to stay? And if there's someone in your community of caring, and that's the reason you're there, maybe it's a relative or friend or someone close to someone that you care about, say to them, hey, remember, my happiness is your happiness. This person is doing this repeatedly. So this is causing unhappiness. So remember, then that person should say, wow, okay, oh my goodness, you're right. Okay, Then I'll go over there and see them for a little bit myself, and then I'll come over and meet you later, and we'll do, go to dinner ourselves. See, perfect, problem solved. It is nice. Being in the Satisfaction Saturation series is awesome. I am very proud of you. We talk about in this series constantly, though, about setting new goals, about not being um, complacent, about being focused on what potential opportunities lay ahead. We know there's a lot ahead, but we need to go ahead and savor those little life victories when they come. And again, if nobody else is in your community of caring other than you of course are the founding member and the principal member and the lead member, because you're with you until you don't exist in the form that you do anymore. So your community of caring is always going to have the number one fan, because you're the number one fan of yourself. So celebrate, be proud of yourself. It is nice. If you hear this, you need to stop talking to those people. They will not stop doing it, because the things that are motivating them to do that are, remember, their own desire to self-sabotage, their own inability to see the easy solution in front of them, which is where you ask people, how did you do that? Could you help me? I'd love to do that. That's what you do, right? They don't see this. You're not going to be able to magically make it happen. They have to get to a point where they are able to observe the really obvious and easy evidence, like it's not working. Instead of them running around, must be nice to other people, and they don't have whatever it is they want. That's the issue. That's pretty obvious, right? But they have to see that, and then they can go and starting to change things, right? But you can't do it. All you got to do is limit your exposure to it. And if you're not hearing it, then it's not existing in our world. People who care about you understand it is nice, and they also understand that for all the little victories we have in life, they're all of us. I've not met a person or even read about a person who hasn't had a fair share, sometimes more than their fair share, of just horrible, catastrophic, awful things happen. It's life. So take the good and celebrate. And when you get the people, must be nice, that means you got to stop being around those people. Yes, and it may mean that you have to sacrifice something. Maybe you say, well, I really love being on that volunteer committee. I know you did, but you're going to have to find another way to serve, because if you're going to be on that committee, every time you're going to get that nasty abuse, and you don't deserve it, so stop it. You're not going to make them stop. And if there's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch could be more than one, like two people, I don't care. If there's more than one and they have a little group, and then they reinforce each other, because then they sit and think to each other, see, we're not the issue. They, with that must be nice, with that child succeeding, or that their health is good because they exercise, or whatever it is they're mad about, they're gonna take it all out on you. And the only way to immediately stop it is to stop being around. When you're around people in your community of caring, when they say this, they can use the same words. They'll be like, that must be nice. That's great. That's awesome. Tell me about the ceremony when they, gave you Employee of the Month, or, let me know a little bit more about it. Oh, this is your new, car. Let's get in it. It smells nice. Show me all the good stuff, right? Like, there they are. That's the person. See? Remember, we reciprocate. So for them, when something happens, even if it's something that maybe it does trigger a little bit in our heart of hearts, we think, oh, that is great. Yes, it is. For them, you get over there and you celebrate. And if there's something in your life, if you aspire to that, then you ask them, hey, this is great. How did you learn about this opportunity? See? I really did enjoy this show. I hope it got you thinking a little bit and has some specific action items for you to take so that you don't have to hear it. Problem solved. And then get out there, because there are a lot of things. There's a lot of things we haven't even thought about yet, that we need to go work on, that will continue to move us and propel us forward to achieving more things, more outcomes that are beneficial. And if there's something that you really do feel like, yeah, it is nice, go out there, celebrate. And by going out there, it could be like you and your, reading a good book and thinking to yourself, this is great. I like this. The time to read this book, or this great book, or this chair, or this comfy seat. Yeah, it is nice. Thank you for being part of the program today. And as always, I ask you to come by CourtneyAnderson.com, visit our different show pages, leave ratings or reviews wherever you find our show, whether it's on iTunes or anywhere else, and continue to reach out and let me know what's on your mind. I am on Twitter at ZealousBiz. business. Thank you.